Welcome to the BettingPros PGA Podcast. I'm Pat Fitzmaurice here with Bo McBrayer. Great to be back with you after a one-week absence. My thanks to Seth Wolcock for filling in last week while I spent time in that most wholesome of American cities, Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, the PGA Tour heads south of the border this week for the Mexico Open at Vidanta World. On today's show, we'll start with a quick recap of the Genesis Invitational. We'll give you a full betting preview of the Mexico Open, pardon me. We'll share our early betting cards with you, and then we'll make our one and done picks at the end of the show. Bet365 has a special offer for our listeners. Turn $5 into $150 worth of bonus bets when you join Bet365. To claim the offer, just go to bettingpros.com/365 and deposit at least $10. If you place a bet of at least $5, you'll earn $150 in bonus bets. Again, that's bettingpros.com/365. Ages 21 and over only. Must be present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, or Virginia. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or if you live in Iowa, 1-800-BETS-OFF. Terms and conditions apply. Bo, I missed seeing the pros play Riviera Country Club, one of my favorite venues on the PGA Tour, but ultimately, I had no complaints about the Genesis Invitational being played at Torrey Pines rather than Riviera. Torrey Pines South gave us a really compelling tournament. Conditions were tough a few weeks ago when Torrey Pines hosted the Farmers Insurance Open. That was more of a test of survival. The weather at La Jolla, California was much more cooperative this time around. It made for some really exciting golf. 25-year-old Swede Ludvig Åberg got his second career win. Åberg struggled with illness during the first part of the tour's California swing, but the young star was healthy, totally on top of his game this past weekend. He opened with the 74, but then put together rounds of 66, 70, and 66 to finish with the winning score of 12 under par. Åberg really grabbed the tournament by the throat down the stretch, birdieing 4 of his last 6 holes. Came to the final hole tied with Maverick McNeely, whose red-hot putting had propelled him into the lead on Sunday. McNeely shot a final round 64, just went nuclear. He had 13 putts over his first 11 holes, and at that point, I think he'd rolled in something like 120 feet worth of putts. But Åberg hit the back of the 18th green with his second shot, the 18th at Torrey Pines. Is, of course, that famous par 5 that requires an approach shot over a pond and has a green that slopes severely from back to front. Åberg faced a really treacherous 68-foot downhill putt. Needed to get down in 2 for the win outright to avoid a playoff. Lagged his first putt to 6 feet 9 inches, then calmly rolled in his second putt for the win, his second on tour. Åberg was just so good on Sunday. So was McNeely, who's now recorded 2 straight top 10s. Scotty Scheffler tried to make a charge on Sunday with a 66, but he was tripped up by a sloppy 76 on Saturday. Scheffler finished 3 shots back. So did Patrick Rodgers, who had taken a 1-shot lead into the final round. Patrick Cantlay, Justin Thomas, Denny McCarthy also contended. Rory McIlroy was lurking around for a while, but he was undone by some abysmal putting. Quite a show at Torrey Pines. I didn't bet this one, Bo. I took the week off, but I was having a conversation with our business manager, Jimmy, on Wednesday night in Las Vegas. He's an avid golf bettor. We were talking about Åberg as a potential value bet, a guy with longer odds than he should have had, mainly due to those poor illness-related performances a few weeks ago. But I did not bet Åberg. Hopefully Jimmy did. Bo, what were your takeaways from the Genesis?
It was a really good tournament. Lots of talent at the top of the board. It was obviously a signature event. Lots of money on the line. Åberg was he's the best golfer for that golf course. And 3 weeks ago, I was willing to bet him in a weaker field at 9-1. I put all of my chips in and was looking really good after Thursday's or Wednesday's round that week. And then he got sick and ended up finishing pretty much at the bottom of the field out of all the people that made the cut. And this week I was off him for some reason, even though he's number 4 in my model. And I'm kicking myself. And a lot of golf bettors are, because we wanted to see it from Åberg, but we should have known that we were going to see it this last week at La Jolla. Torrey Pines is a picture perfect golf course for Ludvig Åberg's game. and that bore out in the results. This should have been a slam dunk for pretty much all of us to hammer the books. I'm a little disappointed in you that you were in Las Vegas of all places and then decided to take the week off betting. That doesn't make any sense, Pat. I expect better from you on that one.
Well, I wasn't going to be around Sunday to collect if I bet at the sports books, and the online betting apps I have do not work in Nevada, unfortunately. So that kind of deterred me a little bit. I just had to lose money playing video poker instead.
I've done that before too. Yeah, overall, really good tournament, and we're kind of going to get a lull week here, but the Florida swing looming. This is another tournament kind of in between where we get to talk about guys who are next, who we might be seeing in those signature events very soon that we're not seeing yet. So where a lot of people are like, oh, it's kind of a bummer that this week is in Mexico. I'm excited. I love this tournament, going back to last year where we won a lot of money with this one.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Bo. I mean, I am anxious to dig into the Mexico Open with you because this was the event that jump-started us last year. Like, we were off to kind of a sluggish start over the first month and a half, and then you, Bo McBrayer, pinpointed Jake Knapp as a compelling long shot. Knapp wound up winning. So, yeah, let's dig in and try to find this year's winner. And you framed it well. Mexico is a stepping stone between the California swing and the Florida swing, and so a lot of the top players are going to skip this event. This is not a star-studded field. Most of the big name guys on tour are sitting this one out. But yeah, the Mexico Open will be played at Vidanta World, formerly known as Vidanta Vallarta. It's a par 71 measuring 7,436 yards. It's a long course, especially when you consider that there are 5 par 3s along with the drivable par 4. So four par 4s here, measuring 475 yards or longer. 2 of the par 5s are longer than 600 yards, and another one is 585. The par 3s are all pretty long. Wide fairways, though. Course is relatively flat. The rough isn't all that difficult to deal with. The greens might be a little bit of a challenge for the field, however. The putting surfaces at Vidanta World are paspalum. We spent some time talking about these paspalum greens on last year's show. They tend to be slow and sticky. Not really what the pros are used to dealing with. I think we're looking for big hitters this week, Bo. Like, driving distance really matters. Jake Knapp is a bomber, which worked to his advantage last year. Long iron play is also a key consideration. A lot of the approach shots are going to be around 200 yards. It can get breezy at this course since it's located alongside the Pacific Ocean. But as of now, the forecast is calling for light winds of 5 to 10 miles an hour all 4 days. And no rain, temperatures in the low to mid 80s every day of the tournament. Pretty nice forecast, especially if you're like me here in the upper Midwest or the Northeast where the weather's been brutal. So this will be the 4th time the Mexico Open has been played at this course. Past winners include the aforementioned Jake Knapp, who was 19 under par last year, 2 shots better than Sami Välimäki. Tony Finau won here in 2024 at 24 under par. And John Rahm won here in 2023 with a score of 17 under par. Bo, your thoughts on Vidanta World and the types of players who might fare well here?
It's a pretty good mix. I think driving distance does carry a real advantage here because there's really no penalty for missing fairways. The rough is very light. It's sparse. There's not a lot of terrain grade here. It's pretty flat. The only defense for this golf course has been the wind. That doesn't look like it's going to be a factor this week. So let it rip. This is the one course on tour that absolutely has a bomber's advantage. So let's get some big boppers in there again. And hopefully there's quite a few big hitters in this field who are also playing outstanding golf lately, which also plays into it. I'm looking at recent form, especially from tee to green. Those long approach shots do come in handy here. But putting on slower surfaces is huge here. And guys who toot, not necessarily long hitters, but some guys just play better on longer courses or courses like this that play really long compared to the yardage total. There's a lot of long holes here that are going to demand driving the ball off the tee very well, strokes gained off the tee, good drives gained, and of course, the most important thing here, birdie or better percentage. Convert those scoring opportunities, young men. Let's go.
We will get to the odds in just a moment, but first,
download the free Betting Pros app for iOS and Android. With Sportsbook Sync, you can automatically track your bets across all major sportsbooks in one spot. Easily monitor your bet performance by sport and bet type, including game picks, props, and parlays. Create custom betting systems to find winning trends and profitable opportunities. Get a free trial of Betting Pros Premium by downloading the app and activating your trial on the upgrade screen.
Now for the Mexico Open odds. All odds are courtesy of DraftKings as of Monday morning. Akshay Bhatia is the favorite at 14-1. He is coming off a top 10 finish at the Genesis. Rasmus Højgaard is 20-1. Sam Stevens, Patrick Rodgers, and Kurt Kitayama are 22-1. Michael Kim is 25-1. He had a nice showing at the Genesis. Harry Hall is 28-1. And at 30-1 are Taylor Moore, Stephan Jaeger, Bo Hostler, and Aaron Rye. Who do you like from among the favorites, Bo?
Right off the top here, I have Akshay Bhatia pretty high on this list, but it's also a little bit lower than I expected Akshay to be for the favorite here. He is not as good on longer golf courses, and even though his short game is really good, his off the tee game has not been good. His approach game has also not been great, especially on that 200+ yard bucket. So as the 91st longest hitter in this field, I think that 14-1 number on Akshay is really, really short. So I'm going to start my card at kind of 20-1 area with Rasmus Højgaard. Even though Sam Stevens is number one in my stat model and he's playing great golf, I don't know that he has the firepower to win this tournament. Birdie or better gained, he's 37th in this field and he's 69th in putting on slow greens. He's top 10 in a lot of categories here, especially number one in strokes gained tee to green. But I'm a big fan of Rasmus Højgaard's game right now. 20-1. His brother is getting longer odds, but right now, compared to last year, I was saying Nicolai was the hotter golfer. Right now, it's obviously Rasmus Højgaard that's playing the best form right now. So 20-1 for him. And I'm going to throw in Kurt Kitayama 25-1. He has one appearance here. He played great, and he's just got the perfect match for game. I don't know if his form's been great results-wise, but his stats look outstanding. So I'll definitely be putting in a wager on my guy from NorCal.
Yeah, you mentioned it with Kitayama. 22-1. I think it's a fair price. Like, as you said, big hitter, good with the long iron. Seems like a perfect fit. Only played this event once before and finished second. That was the year John Rahm won. He was right behind Rahm. Only issue, like you said, Bo, has not been in great form this year. I'm intrigued by Sam Stevens, definitely. Like, he missed the cut here last year, but he's been playing really well lately. Second at the Farmers Insurance Open, top 20 at Pebble Beach, pretty big hitter. Who else in this group? I mean, you've got Patrick Rodgers coming off the fourth place finish at the Genesis, and he's finished top 10 at the Mexico Open in each of the last 3 years. I do think he might be a popular pick. I don't know if I love the price. Bo, especially, what kind of scar tissue does Rodgers have after taking the lead into Sunday and not really being in the hunt on the back nine? So one other guy I'll mention, Stephan Jaeger, a bomber, a guy I think we were both also kind of on here last year, finished third here and was top 20 at the Mexico Open in both 2022 and 2023.
Yeah.
Now, before we get to more player odds,
help shape the Betting Pros podcast. Take our quick, easy survey at bettingpros.com/survey and share your feedback to help us improve. All it takes is just a minute or two at bettingpros.com/survey.
Let's look at the mid-range options. Ben Griffin and Kevin Yu are 35-1. Thorbjorn Olesen, Alex Smalley, and Nicholas Norgard are 40-1. CT Pan and defending champ Jake Knapp are 45-1. Ryan Fox, Nicolai Højgaard, Matt Wallace, Justin Lower, and Grayson Sigg are 50-1. Michael Thorbjornsen, Mac Meisner, those two are 55-1. And at 60-1, Carson Young, Andrew Putnam, Adam Svensson, Patrick Fishburne, Kevin Roy, and Eric Van Rooyen. Anyone you like from this group, Paul?
I want to make you repeat all of those Norwegian and Swedish names. The Scandinavian names, just it's so much fun to hear you try to pronounce those.
I'm struggling. I'm gonna do a shot of Malort before I try those names again.
No thanks. That's a Chicago thing I could never endorse. I like Thorbjorn Olesen. He's a really, really good player here. Excellent short game. Not the longest hitter, but he's got decent distance. I like his approach game, 24th in this field on general approach, and number 8 in tee to green, number 12 in sand saves, which we didn't mention, but that is going to be an important part. With the only real defense without the wind here is the number of bunkers that are kind of scattered around the golf course. Not that they're challenging, but it kind of offers the only real teeth to this course. Olesen is a really strong candidate here. The one guy that I will hold above him in this tier, though, is Justin Lauer, number 2 in my model, number 1 in this field, and birdies are better gained. That pops you to the very top of my list with the way I have it filtered. He's also top 10 in short game, top 10 on approach, and top 20 on putting on slow greens. Justin Lauer is going out at 50-1. I'm going to be laddering him with a top 10 and top 20 finish as well, because I think that's a misprice with the form that he's showed at these types of events. Is maybe he's not a top half tier golfer for those big events, but when you get a field like this, he seems to rise to the top pretty often.
I'm going to have to add Justin Lauer to my card. You make a strong argument, Bo. Is it hard not to be at least a little interested in Jake Knapp at 45-1? I mean, he hits it a freaking mile. He won here last year. He's coming off a top 20 at Torrey Pines, or do we not want to bet on lightning striking twice in the same place?
I think he'll be up towards the top. I don't think he'll miss the cut or fizzle out or anything. I just don't know that he's going to win this event twice in a row, especially with shorter odds than we got on last year. The appeal last year was that he was number 1 in my model by such a long shot last year that the 55 or 60-1 that we got him at was just a crazy bargain, because it was just a perfect fit. A lot of guys were on him as well. And this year, his form up until last week was pretty abysmal. And yes, he hits the ball a mile, but that's most of his game. His short game is non-existent. He actually struggles incredibly with par 3s, and there's 5 of them on this golf course. I do worry about his ability to avoid the snowball type of hole that almost killed him last year in the final round, where he got really squirrely off the tee, but he kind of held on. That's kind of played out with Jake Knapp since that win, where we got a little bit of a prelude to the Mexico Open last year when he performed well at Riviera. This year it's kind of the same, but a lot less of a green flag blinking light for Jake Knapp to be bet on. I don't like the number.
Agreed. I don't think it's the time to double up on Jake Knapp. Some of the guys I kind of like in this range, Alex Smalley has 3 top 25 finishes in his last 4 events. He has missed the cut at the Mexico Open the last 2 years, but finished 6th here in 2022, hits it a long way, and is solid with the long irons. All right, shot of Malort coming here, Bo. I think Nicolai Højgaard might be a nice fit for this course. Big hitter, ranked first on tour last year in proximity on approaches from 175 to 200 yards. And 50-1 is a pretty good price for a talented ascendant player. And Michael Thorbjornsen is off to a slow start this year. Pair of missed cuts on a 74th. But this is another talented young player who's had last year, 3 top 10s in 11 tour events. He's a bomber. He's good with the long irons. I'm very intrigued by him at his price. What about long shots? Anyone with odds of 65-1 or longer who stands out for you?
So as much as I like a lot of guys in this kind of later tier, I really only want to bet on 2 guys. One of them is kind of a mid-range to long shot. One is a super long shot that you're going to love, because how deep do you really want to go at the Mexico Open? Well, I'm going as deep as anybody in this whole sphere of golf betting. My 80-1 pick is Lanto Griffin, another NorCal product. Great player from tee to green, playing really well right now. I think he's simply a misprice. Lanto comes in at number 3 in my model, top 10 in birdies are better gained on approach, par 3 scoring, good drives gained, and strokes gained on par 5s. This guy's only weakness tends to be kind of scrambling a short game. That's not really going to come into play this week. Lanto Griffin, despite being a medium long hitter, I don't think that he's going to be overwhelmed at all here. 80-1 is a great number for a guy of his talent. And I'm going to go super duper deep with Norman Xiong, Xiong, 350-1. Bomber hits the ball. He's 8th in this field in driving distance. He's actually got the 7th best short game, and he's the best scorer on par 5s in this entire field. Number 7 on proximity at 200 plus yards, number 13 in putting, and number 18 in birdies are better gained. I'm going to take a couple bucks and throw an outright on Norman Xiong. I'm also going to be hitting the hell out of a top 20 line, made cut line, whatever I can get my hands on. Norman Xiong is going to get some of my skin in the game this week. That's a crazy odds for a guy who is just been a Korn Ferry Tour stalwart. And I think that he's kind of the guy that we see Jake Knapp being this year, where maybe he has a couple splashes this year to get him full-time status on tour. But I believe you're going to hear a lot more of the name Norman Xiong as a result of this week's tournament.
I am intrigued. He does sort of fit that Jake Knapp, Ryo Hisatsuni archetype that served us so well last year, Bo.
Sure did.
I like Aldrich Potgieter at 70-1. I mean,
Big
he
South
was
African.
Yes, young South African too, about 20 years old.
Yep.
15th at the Farmers Insurance Open a few weeks ago on another long course, Torrey Pines. Currently number 1 in driving distance and number 2 in strokes gained off the tee. So Potgieter at 70-1 definitely has my interest. Kind of intrigued by Matti Schmid on a course that favors big hitters, but I don't love the 80-1 odds. I would want 100-1 or longer. All right, let's get to the early betting cards. Who do you have as of now, Bo?
I have Rasmus Højgaard 20-1, Kurt Kitayama 25-1, Justin Lauer 50, and Lanto Griffin 80, and I'm going to sprinkle a whole lot of money on Norman Xiong at 350-1 at the Mexico Open. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I like it. Right now, I've got an outright on Sam Stevens at 22-1, an outright on Alex Smalley at 40-1. I've got outrights on Nicolai Højgaard, Michael Thorbjornsen, and Aldrich Potgieter at 50-1, 55-1, and 70-1 respectively. And I've got top 5 kickers on all of those guys. I'm going to add James Lauer and Norman Xiong, Bo, because you made such strong cases for those guys.
Go. That's the name of this game. I obviously was interested in Stevens and both Højgaards. And so I probably will end up throwing some skin on Sam Stevens at 22 because he's number 1 in my model. Why would I leave that guy off my betting slip? So thank you for that one.
Yes, sir. All right, let's get to the one and done competition. Bo had Will Zalatoris last week, tied for 24th, solid showing, good for $164,858. I took Sepp Straka. The big man whiffed hard for me last week at Torrey Pines, missing the cut, just terrible those 2 days before he.
He's like one of a half a dozen guys who missed the cut.
Oh my goodness, I know he got an early flight home. Rare off week for Sepp Straka. I'm up first in Mexico. I'm going to take Sam Stevens. What about you, Bo?
I'm going to take. Ooh, shoot. See, Sam Stevens. I kind of knew you're going to pick here. But I also want to be strategic about this. I'm going to take Rasmus Højgaard.
Rasmus Højgaard. I like it. And that is all for this week's Betting Pros PGA Podcast. We will be back next week with a preview of the Cognizant Classic as the PGA Tour's Florida Swing gets underway. Until then, so long, everyone.